24 inches.
Oh my God.
I keep praying for rain, but it
The
don't happen.
rainiest month of the year.
Well, it normally is.
Okay. Everybody got their microphones on?
Yep, I do.
Call the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for July 12th, 2023 to order. We'll do roll call.
Roger Froman, present.
Sean Cuff.
Chuck Smallwood.
Sylvia Henry. Did you hear me?
Yeah,
Me, Catherine Nyberger.
okay.
Sam Solars.
Steve Gridman.
Jessica Bonniwell.
Okay. We all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I'm not going to. It's too hard to stand.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, I'd look for an approval of the agenda.
I
We gotta talk about that.
approve the agenda.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Look for a motion for approval of the minutes from the May 24th Planning and Zoning Commission.
I approved the minutes from, we didn't have a meeting in
No,
July,
it's May 24th.
May 24th.
24th, yep.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I have a question regarding those minutes. Those are not the same minutes that were presented to the council at the June meeting. There was some real childish manipulation of wording. It's fine here.
Yeah, those were more of a draft of minutes, and I went through them again and read through them and fixed them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'll approve these minutes.
Yes,
Yes.
for different, yep.
Okay, old business? Okay, don't have any. New business, the preserves proposal review. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Gritman, our planning, our public.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commission. As you're undoubtedly aware, the city has had in play requests for proposals for the development of this property that is known as a preserve on the west side of the community, south of Highway 12. This was a project that was initiated in the early 2000s. The developers at the time were underway. They had platted it for a series of townhouse lots, 174 total units, and a public street heading from Highway 12 north and south through the project, and then a series of private streets that serve access to the townhouse lots. They initiated infrastructure construction and portion of the street construction, streets, curbs, and gutters. And then things went south for them and most of the rest of the development world about that time. And the project has sat idle, and eventually the city acquired ownership of the property. And so the council authorized requests for proposals to the development community to see what kind of development activity we might be able to generate through that effort. And in this last round of RFP request, did get responses from two separate development companies who are both interested and had provided a response to the RFP that the city had put together. You can obviously have had a chance, I think, to look through those. They are in different forms, basically kind of reflecting the ideas of each development group. And so from the city was looking to just get as much information as we could to understand what they might be interested in paying for the land, and then what kind of development they would have and be ready to bring forward to the city. So the council has the ability to choose one or the other. This is not a competitive bid kind of situation, so they can choose which project they like best and negotiate development details of all those. But the purpose of this is to just get the kind of ball rolling and see which group the city might be interested in working with. So there are two, as I mentioned. One is Briggs Properties. Pat Briggs represented that firm at council workshop this week, earlier on Monday. And he presented his proposal, which was about 164 total units. As I mentioned, the original plat was 174. His project was varied from the original design, though. It used some of this, a little bit of the private street network, but changed out much of the townhouse development areas for at least two 45-unit apartment buildings, total of 90 multifamily units, and then a number of variable smaller units. He called some of them tiny homes. At the presentation, he described those as 600 to 700 square foot single-family homes and or patio homes, which were probably a little more of a traditional detached townhouse or attached townhouse style, twin home kind of design. He did not present architectural, so he was describing those to the council as part of his presentation, verbally more than anything else. He did have a drawing of the multifamily project, which he had provided as part of his packet. That is, each of those two buildings in his plan are 3-story buildings, 45 units each. The main level of those apartment structures would be under building garage, basically at grade under the building parking garage, and then living units on the upper 2 floors of that 3-story building. He also showed in his plan some detached garage buildings and some surface parking that serve both of those 2 units. The tiny homes and or the patio homes, he indicated, would be kind of market driven. He anticipated that both types of units, both the multifamily and the patio or tiny home idea, would be pursued on parallel paths. So there would be a little bit of both going on at first phase, and then as market absorbed, second phase of both ideas would continue. He envisioned that the entire project would be designed to be a rental project. Both the multifamily and the smaller home designs were designed to be rental. His explanation to the council was that in his experience, talking with some people in the community, that rental, particularly multifamily, but rental of other types, was a particular need that he felt he would be able to respond to with his particular proposal. Probably the primary amenity feature that he identified in his project is a manufactured pond area on the south part of the property. He spent some time in his proposal talking about creating a fishing amenity in that pond and then using it for various events or as a amenity to the community that he develops as part of this project. He indicated his timing would be probably under construction in 2024, next spring. He did not provide too much of detail regarding his financing, so that would be something that would need to be explored further to be understood. Obviously, because he would be replatting the project to accommodate his designs and starting with really new units, his project would require quite a bit more development review than the other ones, which the Brooks project, which we'll talk a little bit about here too. But he would be basically creating a new plat, new plan unit development design, new unit designs, all of which would be part of a longer approval process to get him ready for construction. Probably the last thing to note about the Briggs project is he was aware of the infrastructure issues, but did not really talk about that in his proposal very much. There's probably some unknowns out there about what's usable and what needs to be abandoned and rebuilt, and what might be just need to be reconstructed. So there's I don't know that anybody has a firm fixed idea as to what all that is going to entail, but it appeared that he was aware of that as an issue to explore, but did not have a firm handle exactly yet on what all that might entail. So that's a summary of the Briggs proposal. J.P. Brooks was the other party that did propose, and obviously you have a copy of those plans in your packet. Those are a little more detailed in terms of the overall site plan and architectural design that he would be following. His units are designed to be owner occupied for sale units and follow pretty closely the original plat. So 174 attached townhouse units, anywhere from 2-unit to 8-unit clusters, depending on the location of their site within the project. And again, following the existing plat pretty closely to what is there. Brooks had indicated that they have done some investigation of the utility situation and had a general feel for what that cost would be. They made a point at the work session that because of that extraordinary cost, in their view, they would be seeking some tax increment financing to cover those extraordinary infrastructure costs that they would not expect to encounter if it was just kind of greenfield development. So retrofitting what's there and adding back what needs to be done as part of their finance request. Both parties had a purchase number that were pretty much in the same range. The council has expressed previously that obviously everyone wants to get as much money for land as possible, but that was probably my reading of the council's comments, less important than the nature of the project. And but both of their numbers were probably, in the overall scheme of things, pretty similar and probably pretty minor aspects of their financial issues that they need to deal with. Brooks, their primary amenity was also parkland. They indicated that they would be constructing a park with the improvements, again, down on the south portion of that site, and they have some conceptual drawings. They indicated that they would be working on making a more detailed design as part of that project, but that would be part of their expectation as part of their project improvements. So I think that's probably the summary of the two. Staff has not made a recommendation here. We want to make sure that everybody just understands things on as much of an even playing field as we can, so we know what questions to ask. And from the council work session, we did have a few things we're going to follow up with both developers before they are expected to bring this issue, or staff at least will be bringing back the issue to the council at their August council meeting. Tonight, Planning Commission has an opportunity to look at this and provide your input to the council as well. What kinds of thoughts you may have about the various proposals, what you think are their strengths or weaknesses, and if you have a specific recommendation, you're obviously free to make that. If that is a series of recommendations about we like this or we don't like that, that's fine too. We're not looking for a formal kind of a public hearing orientation here, but just as much feedback as we can to support council as they go about making their decision, I think is what we're looking for tonight. So that's my overview, Mr. Chair. I'd be happy to answer questions if you've got any of me. Otherwise, the open discussion is yours.
All right, thank you. I guess one question I have with the Briggs project being at all rental units, is that someplace local that's going to be overseeing that, or is that?
Mr. Briggs had addressed that question at the council work session and said that they work with, I got the impression, pardon?
Like rental management.
Yeah, and I got the impression they work with a few different management companies who would be responsible for the day-to-day operation, rental operations and management of the site. He didn't identify a single one, but it sounded like he works with a handful of them on his other projects.
Okay.
Does the Briggs project have curb and gutter? Or
It would need to have curb and gutter, full development design, just as we would expect of any.
sidewalks and curbs and gutters
Right, yep.
on both projects?
Yes, yeah. And I would say that the Briggs development, both of them really, are still conceptual. So one of the things that the city would be doing as part of this review process after a developer is chosen, I didn't go into that, I should have explained that a little bit. If a developer is chosen, and once that happens, there would be, and Brooks spent more time talking about this, a 90-day kind of due diligence period for them to do their remaining investigations of the site, presuming that they get to that point and decide to close on the property. And either one of them would be in this situation. Once they've done their due diligence and close and purchase the property, then they would have a process where they would need to get their final development approvals, which would include where the sidewalks are, what the nature of the improvements all are, the architectural landscape, all of that would happen as part of that. Brooks is a little farther along in that process since they're following the old plat. So Briggs would be starting out from a little farther back in that process, a little more conceptual at the preliminary stage.
As far as footprint of the actual land, does Briggs have more footprint than,
I mean, total building footprint on the land?
yeah?
I did not make that measurement. I don't know how to answer that one. I
Well,
probably
it's
can't.
important when it comes to snow removal, to have
Yeah.
proper area to remove snow.
Certainly, that would be a part of the review of the project design. If I had to guess, I would say Briggs probably has less footprint, just because they've got two-story buildings with units on top of each other, so they're probably covering a little less land overall.
What about parking? Did you say they have underground parking? So these vehicles are off the street during snow removal?
Yeah, they
emergencies?
have off-street parking. Some of the parking is under the building. Some of the parking is in detached garages on the side of the building, still on private property. And then they have some surface parking, again, off-street as well, serving the building.
But the Briggs is all rental.
Briggs described his project as all rental. Brooks described their project as for sale.
Yeah.
And HOAs for both of them?
Yeah, particularly Brooks would have an HOA that is the operating manager once the individuals move in and own. On rental projects, it's not an HOA per se, it's the management company that owns and operates the site, but they're similar in function. Any typical rental project is owned and managed by the owner. And ownership projects like this, townhouse projects, the owners form an association, and that's the HOA.
Do both of these proposals have a relatively the same impact on our infrastructure as far as sewer and water?
I would be guessing that that's true. Brooks' proposal is 174 units, and Briggs is 164, so they're close. I mean, yeah, you're throwing nickels as a difference. So the amount of sewer and water each of them would take and the amount of stormwater they would generate, all of those are going to be pretty much in the same ballpark.
And the city can handle all of the units?
Yes, yep, there's capacity to handle these units.
I mean, in your experience, what is it, is there a, I mean, having people that own something versus rent, is there a benefit to the community one way or the other, in your opinion?
I would say both of them have different kinds of benefits. Rental projects tend to be more affordable. So you have a baseline for population that might be labor ready for attracting industry. That's one of the advantages of having a rental residential. Ownership projects, it's always a little more expensive to own than it is to rent, even though sometimes things get topsy-turvy with interest rates or whatever. But as long as you have a healthy association, and that's one of the things we all learned after 2007 or 8, to make sure the associations are well managed and well funded, then there's probably no real difference in management quality ongoing. So.
Well, I can disagree with the rental issues because of the project behind me. That was supposed to be home HOA, owner occupied.
There's good and bad.
And it's been just a nightmare, really. I mean, everyone was supposed to have 2 parking spaces, and one resident will have 6, 8 vehicles. It's a free-for-all back there, you know? And that's rental. There's no management oversight, nothing. And it's all rental.
Well, there's good and bad examples of both.
It's a bad example,
So
very bad.
I would just say that there's certainly examples of poor rental projects that don't have the management they should have, and that become code enforcement issues or whatever. That's the same truth for ownership projects. We all learned a lot about HOAs and ownership projects after the crash, and how to make sure that they are actually properly funded and properly set up so ongoing we don't have those problems. But it's true for both. Making sure they're properly managed and organized and planned from the beginning is the key for all of these. And
But you have constant change with rental properties too. You know, you really don't have people that take pride in the community to the degree that homeowners do.
yeah, I guess if I were going to argue with that, I would say that the owner of the project, if it's a well-designed and well-constructed project, they've got an interest in making sure that project is taken care of. A good owner and a good manager is going to make sure their tenants are good tenants. So.
But what if you have a downturn again before the project is complete or the projects are complete, and then you have another situation like I have behind me?
I think that's probably true regardless. If we have another downturn that crashes the housing market, it's not going to matter.
Chuck, what is the council looking from us? What do they want from us?
I think we're just looking for, your guys' feedback on
Okay,
both plans.
I mean, do we need a motion on the consensus of the zoning commission? as
No,
far as-
I mean, unless you guys have a specific motion to make, but I think just your comments and feedback is good
I'll
enough.
state my preference. My preference would be going with Brooks.
Going with who?
Brooks.
Brooks.
Brooks or Briggs?
Owned units, not rentals.
You said Brooks.
Brooks.
I don't hear you, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
Is
Well,
that,
my preference is going with Brooks also. I'm not, a big fan of huge rental projects.
I think Brooks has the nicer units going here, what I can see.
Well, and for now, they're the only ones that submitted any types of drawings,
Right.
Yeah, those are all Brooks, right?
yeah.
Well, Waverly has a lot of Brooks homes, don't they? That's the Kerrigan Estates.
Brooks has built in Waverly, he's building in Buffalo,
Delano.
Delano.
He's around, yep. Mhm.
You know, and I think we have to look at, you know, what do we want our community to look like in the future? We have 2 trailer courts, and there's nothing wrong with trailer courts. I mean, they house people, and there are a lot of nice people there. But it seems to me like the large rental projects are more along the line of, you know, high density.
How does that process work? I mean, let's say they both really wanna decide they wanna do a development, then do they bid? I mean, do they have competitive bids to buy the land, or how does, I mean, the council decides which project to go with based on what they think's best for the community? So that's kind of what we're discussing.
Yep, that's exactly what happened.
Okay.
Council would choose one and enter into a contract and go from there.
Yeah.
Well, we have one development in Montrose that has, I don't know whether it's rental or whatever, but it's that Country View Estates. And that has several, that has duplexes and apartment complexes. I don't know whether they're apartments or condos. I know nothing about it.
Yeah.
But I know there's just an excess of cars all the time. There's, you know, high density, it seems to be.
Would the tax ramifications, like the income for the city from one or the other, be more or less?
As a general rule, a rental project will return more taxes just because
Which project?
a rental
A rental
project,
will return more taxes.
just because there's not a homestead credit happening for each of those units.
Okay.
A homestead credit's moderated over the years, so it's not as dramatic as it used to be, but there's still a little bit of a difference.
So how much more do you think it would be? Like, do you have a guess percentage wise?
Yeah, you know, I'm a bad
Is it a lot more, or is it just?
person. It's maybe within the 10% range. I would
Okay.
think.
What about, like, your veterans get a special benefit on homestead? What % is that?
I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, we pay for veterans benefits also, as far as the homestead credit is concerned. But I don't know what % it is. Well, if it's an HOA, that means that both of them are HOA or management. And that means that the city will not plow the streets, or what will the city's responsibility be for both of these projects as far as maintaining?
The city's responsibility here would be for the north-south road, which is
Willow,
That's a public street.
because it goes to a lift station, yeah.
And the city would be the overall manager of the public utilities, sewer, water in the area. Probably some stormwater improvements, depending on the layout. The private developers or the private owners, whether it's the HOA or a rental management company, would be responsible for plowing the internal private streets that provide direct access to these units. Also, lawn mowing, landscape maintenance, usually exterior building maintenance, roofing, that kind of thing when those things need to be done.
Okay, what about ordinance enforcement in the rental?
Ordinance enforcement is the same for either project. A code violation is a code violation, so.
Okay, but that needs to be in the developer's agreement where they will honor our ordinances.
Well, they have to honor our ordinances regardless. The developer's agreement can't excuse them from that.
Okay, well, good.
I see pros and cons either way. Biggest drawback I see is everything's dumping right there on 12 where it's 55 miles an hour.
Correct.
That's the only headache I see. I
Where
mean,
Willow comes out.
yeah, where the complex comes out, where Willow comes out, all these collect on Highway 12 where that 55 mile an hour
That's
zone
where it
is.
slows down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, where it's supposed to slow down. Depends on what time of day you drive through there. But whether it be rental or sales, I mean,
Would that be a
There's no
consideration?
difference.
Well, I suppose we can't change the speed limit on 12 then, can we?
no, it's a MinDOT.
No, that's the MinDOT.
MinDOT.
But having more people and traffic might cause for some other traffic controls to be installed at some point, so,
Might get a roundabout at Clementa finally.
correct, something like that.
Been 20 years in the making.
Really? That'd be cool.
Kept going up there too.
What about that fish pond? Is that a natural pond?
No, they would be building that and stocking it with fish.
And the management company would manage and maintain that?
And
That's
it'd
what
be
they
an-
said.
That's the expectation.
They will be required to put a right turn lane in, off of Highway 12 into the development, and then there is a left turn lane already existing.
Well, I like the fact that Brooks is actually a home builder and a developer. And Briggs is really more diversified. They're in management, they're in real estate, they have many different hats. While Brooks is just basically a home developer and builder.
Briggs. You said Brooks at the end. Did you mean Briggs?
And being that the units are
Brooks is the,
about the same amount of units, the increase in population would be about the same either way?
Yeah, it won't be a significant difference.
And an increase in population, I mean, that's gonna be, hopefully bring in more businesses, right?
Hopefully. That's
Maybe we
the,
get a Subway.
Business follows house rooftops.
yep, they, yeah,
Could have had one.
we keep hearing that.
Right.
Either way we go, it's, I mean, whether it's rentals or sales, there's gonna be a diversity of tenants. So we really don't need to make any type of decision for council or anything like that.
No, I think the comments are helpful, what you guys have been saying, so I think that's feedback enough.
Okay.
Anybody else has any more comments or questions?
Yeah, I'd just like to see what kind of concepts Briggs has to bring to the table for their layout.
Yeah, that's a question that we reached
Yeah.
out to them on too.
That is one of the things we're kind of wondering about is kind of the architectural layout of the tiny homes and the apartments and things, so.
Yeah, because right now it's kind of one-sided. We've got all these concepts for Brooks in front of us, but we have no idea what
Yeah,
Briggs has in mind.
yeah, and we just wanted to provide you with what they turned in, so that's it.
Yeah.
is there another development that Briggs has that we can look at, that we can take a little field trip and take a look and see what he has in mind for this fish pond
Where else did he
rental
say?
unit?
Briggs indicated that he was doing a project similar to this, I believe, in Clearwater, and had done one similar to this also in Princeton. And I know that he has worked in Elk River, although I don't know if the fish pond aspect of it has been part of that.
Well, I know he has apartment complexes in various communities, but I haven't seen, this concept. And I would like to see this concept that
Yeah, there's,
He's
certainly Brooks was more detailed in the kind of project he would be building than the Briggs proposal.
it's a nice presentation. I mean, this was really, gave us a lot of information.
Okay, so now we just,
Just move on.
If that's everything, that's
Okay.
fine, we'll pass that along to council.
Yep.
okay. Any other questions or anything for Mr. Gritman, or?
I've stated my preference.
I did too.
Okay. I guess that'll wrap it up then. We'll have our next meeting Wednesday, August 9th, 2023, here at the community center at 7 PM. Anything else anyone wants to add? Be looking for a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I close the meeting at
So I took mine home.
7:38.
Thank you, Chuck.